Well, I'm very pleased to introduce Elizabeth Stone. She has a PhD, but she's also part of the San Mateo Arts Commission. She's a commissioner. And so she's got a project that she's been working on um, toward a new legacy arts and civil rights project. And she's looking for funding and also looking for people to join her, hopefully in Montgomery, Alabama, which would be fascinating. I would love to go. And I know Heather said she would love to go. Heather's one of our board members. So anyway, Elizabeth is just starting out. She needs to get introduced to a lot of different people and groups because she is looking for sponsorships. So I think this is a great time, for this project. And with that, take it away, Elizabeth, and tell us about your project.
Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Robin, who's on the call. Robin's a director at the Arts Commission for the county and very instrumental in getting this project off the ground. And she can answer probably many of your questions today as well. So thank you so much. I think, can we do a screen share? Can I get my screen?
Yes.
Can I go ahead and screen share? Okay.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so get this. Let me see if I can get into presenter mode here. Let's see. Okay. I'm not very good with this, so pardon my, I think this is, no, that's probably not what I wanted. So let me get out of that. Sorry about that. I don't want to do that. I think I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do it the simple way because I'm not great with figuring out how to do these. So we good? You can all see my screen okay? Yes. So thank you so much for welcoming me today. I really, really appreciate it. And these are awful times for many organizations and businesses in San Mateo and everywhere else across the country, and coming forward with a new project and asking people for sponsorships and support at this time is really difficult to do, because I understand, these are hard times. But at the same time, when we started planning this program before COVID, and it's very, very important to me, and I think it's a very valuable program for the community. So I'm trying to go forth with it as best we can, and knowing that we may have to make accommodations along the way. But the topic of social justice and racial equity is really important in our society today, and it's not really something I think we can kind of put on the back burner because we've got other problems going on. So we're going to persevere, and we're going to go forward with this project in the way that we're able to do it this time. And so today I wanted to present to you where we are with this project, and explain to you what the purpose is, what the plan is, and how different organizations in the county can be involved. I wanted just to kind of give a little bit of background about how I got interested in this project. I've been involved in the arts world for most of my adult life. I'm the parent of 2 professional artists, and I've worked as a college professor, but I've also worked in arts organizations. I've worked at the San Francisco Symphony and at ODC Dance as a director of marketing, and have been involved with mentoring young artists for many, many years. I also have an interest just in equity and social justice as something that I value and pay a lot of attention to in our community. And I was invited to go to Montgomery, Alabama in early March, like literally as COVID was rolling out. We were on the plane heading back from Alabama, and with our hand sanitizer and wiping everything down. So just made it back in time. I was invited to go with the Coalition of Glide Memorial Church and the Kitchen, which is a synagogue in San Francisco, and a cohort of doctors from UCSF on a mission trip to Montgomery, Alabama to be on the ground and learn firsthand about the legacy in the United States on racial injustice, enslavement, and to speak with people on the ground who are descendants of people who were involved or in the civil rights movement, or descendants of people involved in the civil rights movement, and see the new museums and monuments that were built in Montgomery. And I came back from that trip, and the trip involved a lot of educational components too. We didn't just go on a travel trip. There were many meetings beforehand and extensive reading lists and a lot of education that went with it. And came back and really wanted to think about how my experience there, I could bring that knowledge and experience to the county. And as a commissioner, really began to think about what the role of the arts is in educating people about social injustice and how arts can be a vehicle for social change. So the county came up with we had a strategic plan that was approved. I think, Robin, it was in February. It's also right before COVID, a 3-year strategic plan. And one of the one of the goals for the strategic plan was to work with existing partners and seek new prospective partners to develop mutually designed programs to reach and respond to the interests and needs of underrepresented populations. And I thought a program that focused on social injustice and racial equity would be something that fit really well into the strategic plan. So we came up with this project, which was recently approved by the Arts Commission. It was approved by the Arts Commission with some funding, but of course we're here because we need more funding. So that's what I'm going to be presenting today. If you have any, we're a really small group, so please stop me anytime to ask me any questions. Just raise your hand up. So the purpose of this particular initiative is to utilize artistic expression to highlight racial injustice within our own community and our country. And we are living in volatile times, and I don't have to go into all of that. We know what times we're living in now. They're very challenging. And to engage the community with art makers in a dialogue on racial injustice and art as a medium to highlight historical injustices and also move towards a just society for all. This project is a way of bringing together the community, not just having individual organizations do their own thing. And I think that that's what the beauty of this project is. It is a county-wide initiative to bring people together to have these conversations and to create art as a community. There's lots of people who do art individually that address social injustice, but what we're trying to do is something that as a community. So it's a little bit different than individual organizations, as I say, just kind of doing their own thing. And I'm here today because we'd like you to join us on this journey. Got my little added text here there, sorry that's showing up. But we need partners, and this is, as I say, a community project, and I'm going to explain what the project is and how different organizations in the county can join us with this. I have a few pictures to show you about what I saw in Montgomery. I think it'll give you a really good idea right from the start about what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about a legacy in this country of racial injustice and enslavement. And in Montgomery, there are new memorials and museums that are addressing this and telling the story that I don't think many of us learned in our 5th grade history classes or our 11th grade US history classes. Montgomery has built the Museum of Peace and Justice, the Memorial to Peace and Justice, and the Legacy Museum, which explains the story of mass incarceration and enslavement. And these are pivotal points. This is what Montgomery is essential to experience in order to be involved in this project. So the response to this call from the county to address issues of underrepresentation, the proposal that we have put forth that has been approved by the Arts Commission is to engage 10 to 12 arts organizations to create a creative project in the 21-22 year in response to a funded trip to Montgomery, Alabama. So we know we can't travel right now, so this is going to be a 2-part trip. It's going to be part virtual and part on the ground. And the goal, we had originally hoped that people could travel in early 2021 to Montgomery. We know that's not going to happen now, but our partners in Montgomery have agreed to bring in speakers virtually and do some virtual touring until we can actually get on the ground. So again, I didn't want to stop this project because we can't travel. These are urgent needs that we need to address in our community. And so it'll be a 2-part program. This is a picture of the National Peace and Justice Memorial, which would be one of the places that our arts and our community members would visit on this trip to Montgomery. These are sculptures that, and I'll show you in a larger picture, you can see how big this memorial is. These each represent a different community in the United States where people were lynched. And on these are names of the people who were lynched in this country. And you can see how this is an enormous memorial that was built. And I think it's only been open for a couple of years. We were there on a very, very stormy and rainy day. It's not a very pleasant place to visit, but it's very educational. And if any of you read the book Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson? highly recommended. It is a book that talks, Robin's read it, that talks about the legacy of racial injustice, particularly in the legal system. And the Equal Justice Initiative was very much a part of this national project for peace and justice, and they have a building across the street. And when I went across, when I was there with Glide, we heard a speaker on this site that had been incarcerated, I think, for over 30 years on death row for a crime he didn't commit. He was racially profiled, picked up in his front yard as he was watering his plants, and spent half of his life in solitary confinement for a crime he did not commit. So we learned a lot about these kinds of stories when we were in Montgomery from people who had experienced really the worst kind of racial injustice our country has seen. The Legacy Museum is another project of the Equal Justice Initiative, and their perspective is that we have gone in this country from enslavement to mass incarceration, and this is something there's a lot to read on this, but what we learn about is how our legal system, and we're hearing about this in the news, so again, I'm not going to give you a history lesson today, has found other ways to keep people of color out of the mainstream of life, and that our legal system does not treat people equally in this country. And so this is a museum that talks about how we've gone from enslavement to mass incarceration. It's a very small museum. Only probably about 50 people fit into it at one time, but there's so much to read and learn there that you could actually spend just hours and hours and hours. They have audios and videos of people talking about their stories, and it's a very, very moving experience. As part of developing this project, I talked to many organizations in our community to talk to them about this project and to get their interest and their support for it. And this is just a sample of organizations that we've talked to who are really interested in participating in this project, which I haven't really told you exactly yet what it is, but that's coming next. Are any questions so far? I know I talk very fast, so anything questions you want to ask at this point? You can see that the organizations I spoke with in the county represent a lot of different constituencies. They work with children, they work with adults, they work with youth, they work in different cities in the county, from East Palo Alto, San Mateo, Foster City, Redwood City, San Carlos, Burlingame. Of course, our county is larger than that, but we have what's really, I think, really nice is that we're talking to a cross section of organizations that are in different art forms and deal with different demographics. Everyone is very excited about participating in this project because it relates to all of us and it affects all of us no matter what kind of work we do. I have a little message from Patricia Christoph Moy, who's the director at Cole Mansion, who has been in discussions with her own organization on developing initiatives to use music as a tool to address social justice, equity, and inclusion. And she wrote to us saying that this project would be an invaluable resource as they advance the adoption of actively anti-racist and justice-driven plans of action. So we know that this project is something that's meaningful to our arts partners in the county. So we want you to join in. And I will tell you a little bit about the project in my next slide, but I'm here talking to you because this is a project that's not just for the arts organizations, but something that we really, really want the community to join in. We have lots of ways that the community can join in. And I'm going to tell you about the project in a minute, and then I'll come back to exactly sort of what kinds of sponsorships are available. But mostly we want to engage the community in coming on a trip with us to Montgomery, Alabama, to attending community conversations that we're going to have pre and post trip, to help sponsor an arts organization or the performances and other outreach events that will happen as a result of this project. So what is the project? Here we go. So what we're looking for is to gather a group of about 10 to 12 arts organization representatives. We'll travel with the facilitator, some county supervisors, arts commissioners, and stakeholders, which are our community members, to go on this trip to Alabama, both the virtual trip and on the ground trip. There'll be meetings that will happen before and after the trip that will be led by a facilitator to talk about what we're talking about when we talk about racial inequity. What does social justice mean? How as a community do we respond to this? These will be facilitated conversations that will be open to the community both before and after the trip. And then the goal is for our arts participants to write a grant proposal which the county will fund that is going to be a response to the experience of visiting Montgomery, talking with people in Montgomery, reading about social injustice, and having these conversations within the community. We are also going to encourage arts organizations to partner with each other to maximize the kinds of grants that we can provide for them. The beauty of this project, in my opinion, is that we're not telling the arts organizations what they should be doing. As you saw, we have ballet companies, theater companies, youth companies, visual arts programs, filmmakers. We have all kinds of creative arts programs in this county. We're not coming to them and saying, you must do this kind of project. What we want is to educate our arts leaders on what the issues are in our community and let them use their artistic talent and the resources they have in their arts organizations to do something that the county can learn from and as an artistic response. So it could be anything. I talked, for example, to Bravemaker in Redwood City, which is a film organization, and they said they had interns, high school interns who are there teaching how to make documentaries. And they would love to write a grant so that the county can fund a high school documentary filmmaker to go on the trip to Montgomery and actually film it and write a story about it. We have dance organizations that could be bringing in an African-American choreographer, theater organizations that could take on a new play, hire a new playwright, bring in a dramaturg. Our arts organizations could, that work with children could develop outreach programs to take into the schools. There's so many different things that the arts organizations can do as a response to this that works within their own missions and works within the resources that they have. And so what will end up at the end of this 2022 year is about 10 to 12 performances, outreach events, initiatives that we as a community can participate in that will address social injustice from a variety of point of views. Okay, I'll take a breath. Any questions or comments so far? Yes, Cheryl?
Yes, so I was just thinking, Elizabeth, I am a member of the Noontime Rotary Club, and we have 150 members. And I think this project would be excellent. So if you would be willing, I will propose your name to the program committee and get you on, because I think that audience would be a good audience for you to address.
That would be excellent. Thank you so much. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're talking to a small group today, but we know you know many other people in your communities that hopefully that you'll help spread the word on this. This is a hard time to be spreading the word on anything. We can't gather as a community. We have to do these virtual meetings. So any assistance that you can provide would be really, really appreciated. Thank you. So how much does this project cost? We need to increase our funding so that we can take a group of people. These arts organizations, as you know, have very little, if any, money right now. Nobody's out there in theaters getting money from ticket sales. They're trying to support their artists who are they're keeping on staff and doing projects that can be done virtually in this really crazy time. The county is providing some of the funding to take this group of arts leaders to Montgomery on this trip. And but we do need more funding to make this happen. We are asking the arts organizations to pay for their own airfare and also to pay, I think it's a $200 participation fee to be in this project. We will be doing a call for those organizations to apply to be in this program, and we'll be funding much of it, but we are also asking them to provide some small amount of funding from their organizations, but some of the organizations we're talking to are even saying that $200 or $400 for an airplane ticket is something that's going to be very difficult, if not possible, to find in their budget right now. So the kind of support we need in the community is not asking for a lot of money. Even in the hundreds of dollars can really make a difference between an arts organization being able to take on this initiative or not. We want to include an experienced facilitator to lead community discussions pre and post trip and during this project, to talk as a group about what it is that our goals are, and to listen to the organizations and help them figure out what will be the best response that they can do. We also want to have, of course, some kind of grantee and community celebration, and we need funding for community marketing and public relations. Because what we want to do as a county is advertise all of these organizations' projects together. So this is what's a little bit different again about each organization doing their own thing. What we're doing is a county initiative, which means in 2022, when people are doing performances or outreach events or shows or whatever it is that they're doing, we have an ability to get that word out to the community, engage everybody in the county to or attend an outreach event. And so we need some really good public relations and marketing in order to be able to do that. Okay. So the timeline, which keeps changing, I'm afraid to say, because we have to be realistic, is to hopefully call for participants this fall, which we're kind of getting close to this fall. I mean, we're kind of in this fall right now, but within the next 2 months. And open the application. As I said, we've already talked to many arts organizations. We know that they want to participate. We have to open the formal application process, select the applicants to be in the program, and then begin our pre-trip and community conversations. And then again, those will be open to the public, and we hope that the business community, the nonprofit community, and the arts community can come together with the facilitator and talk about what it is that we're trying to do and how we're going to do it. In January would be our virtual trip meetings. We would begin to bring in speakers from Montgomery and possibly from other places to tell the story of what this legacy is in this country, because I think we can read about it, but talking to people, this is what I learned in Montgomery, people lived it, there's no substitute for that. The grant process would begin approximately in February. After these conversations and after meeting people from Montgomery, we're talking about foot soldiers who walked with Martin Luther King across the Prentice Ridge in 1964, people who've been very involved in these projects. The arts organizations will begin to figure out what kind of project they want to do in response to this. We'll review and award those grants, and then approximately from May to December, the organizations will develop those projects. We hope that January 2022, they'll go off to Alabama as a cohort with our community members, final experiential piece of this, and then in 2022 their artistic productions or community-wide outreach will go into the county for all of us to participate in. Okay, so sponsorships, what are we looking for? Looking for all kinds of sponsorships, literally from a few $100s to sponsor our community conversation, to pay for a facilitator, to sponsoring an arts organization to go on the trip to Montgomery. We also want you to go too, so you could sponsor yourself to go essentially as well. San Mateo County Arts Commission is a profit organization. Donations are tax deductible. There's a lot of ways to get your name out there as a sponsor on logo wear and things like that, to get your logo on posters and social media for our community when we start advertising the programs that the arts organizations are going to do. So, you know, we're looking for major sponsors up to, you know, $10,000, $20,000 would be lovely. But we're also know that everybody's having, you know, challenging economic times right now, and really from $300 to $2,000, your organization can make a huge difference in our ability to get these arts organizations to do the kind of work that's really essential for them to do. Okay, and then this is my contact information. I would love to talk to any of you one-to-one, talk to any organizations that you're part of, and talk about this project. If you're interested in being a sponsor, you can email me, and Robin will help me get you a sponsor form and tell you where to write the check. So I appreciate your time. I went through this really quick, and I know Cheryl has some announcements to make about other chamber business, but if we could just take a few minutes, Cheryl, and I could just answer any questions or get any feedback from any of you, I'd really appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions, comments. You know, I'm very interested in this whole concept and maybe being a stakeholder who would go to Alabama. You know, I'm CEO of Peninsula Family Service, so we are also a nonprofit. So it's not like Peninsula Family Service would necessarily be in a position to sponsor. But a couple things crossed my mind. One, at PFS, we have this huge wall that I've always had this vision of putting some sort of mural up there. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to like public art, physical pieces, I think that there could be a real appetite amongst like mid-pen housing for some of that. So they might be somebody to really talk to, or any of the housing companies, because they always have to put public art in. And if they could have this type of themed public art, you might find some sponsorship dollars.
That's wonderful. Yeah,
you know,
that's a really great, terrific idea.
you know, and I could even justify for PFS if it was going to end up in a mural for us doing something like that, because I could certainly pay for a mural, but if it's too indirect, I wouldn't be able to do that at PFS.
I'm sure that we could, you know, we could get a partner with an arts organization to partner with you to design that mural, and that they could apply to be part of this program. Absolutely. That's again, it's exactly the kinds of things that we're looking for. Again, we're not dictating to the arts organizations what they should be doing, and that's why the community conversations are so important. We need to know what you need as well. And that's the partnership.
So if you present things like that, like you could do joint projects, you know, maybe me and the artist could team up and we could go, and that would work out really well.
Excellent.
The other thought that I had was San Mateo, the city, has an arts budget, and they've been putting in public art, and I feel like, but I'm not 100% sure, they were just asking for some feedback on some of that funding.
Okay.
Heather Stewart is the person in charge of that for the city.
Okay.
And since they have a dedicated arts fund, it's not huge, but you know, that could be another great partnership place.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's really helpful. Yes.
Hi, Elizabeth. I was thinking also, do you have any like public relation people that could help support? Because I know two I could actually pass this by to help market it maybe.
That would be wonderful.
I can reach out to them and I'll email you their names.
That would be great. Because the county doesn't have a public relations person,
Okay.
correct, Robin? Or do we? I don't think we do.
Oh, I
You're
can't hear
muted.
her.
You're muted.
Okay, I'll unmute. Yeah, we do have a communications and public relations department as well as a community outreach.
Oh, okay.
And to Heather's point, hi Heather. We have a county galleries curator who has an extensive list. It's about 800 names of local artists, mostly local, virtually all, pretty much all local, who would love, in fact, he arranged for a muralist for a wall in San Bruno on Crystal Springs. So I love your idea, Heather, of perhaps murals could be part of that. And I would love the idea of seeing Peninsula Family Service participate in some fashion with this Elizabeth's project. I think would be great. And I can certainly connect you with Boris, our county galleries curator, about this mural that if you would like to do. And he can tell you.
The mural's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, he how you do a RFP for a mural and do your call for artists and how you evaluate what you want to see, you know, when you solicit samples, that sort of thing.
That would
Christina, yeah. Yeah. So we don't have in the budget, Christine, money for a graphic artist
Oh, I was thinking more
to
of,
design a logo for this project.
oh, okay.
Right.
So we do, I mean, we could do in-kind work as well, would be amazing. If anybody
Yeah, I was
knows
thinking-
somebody who would like to
Yeah.
design something for our social media, what would be wonderful.
Okay, I was thinking, of course, for them to just offer their services for free to support it. It's a wonderful project. Matter of fact, I have a friend, she actually does marketing for theater work, so this might be perfect for her. I know she's been really busy because we had another project that she had passed on, but I will pass this by her and I'll definitely connect.
Yeah, we definitely
yeah.
could use that. We'll need someone to design a poster or some kind of social media
If I know it,
virtual
okay.
poster and a logo for this trip. So that would be really, really helpful.
Okay.
And then Robin, we do have an extensive mailing list. We can get the word out, but the design component, we would need some in kind.
Okay, yeah, I'll put it out in my network.
I really
I have some
appreciate
people that we could probably reach out to and I'll let you know.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And one other question real quick. With our organization, we've done some virtual fundraisers. So I had a classical guitarist from San Francisco. He did this really great virtual fundraiser for us. It just created awareness. So if that's something down the road, I could reach out to him as well. It was a nice way to kind of spread the word. He did a fantastic job. So if we do have that capability, if you have the website up, you know, and then if it's a Facebook, he could do a Facebook Live maybe. Not volunteering or services, but I know a couple people that might be able to help. So we can talk
Wonderful.
about that.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure, yeah. Great
I think
project.
I've gone over my allotted time. So please feel free to email me or Robin at the Arts Commission with any suggestions, comments, connections, other people I can talk to. We are trying to get this lifted off the ground. We've been talking about it for many months, but so many things have interrupted along the way, but we're ready to go. Bye, Lauren.
I mean, great job. Thank you so much for doing this. Real impressive.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Elizabeth, and I will contact my Rotary Club because I think this would be a perfect project for them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for hosting us, and I hope that we'll see you virtually or in person again sometime soon.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Great day,
Thanks,
everyone.
Okay.
All righty, bye-bye.
Bye.